So anytime you see a tornado warning issued, stop what you're doing and take action, right? That means going to the safe place in your home, right? If you have a basement or a storm cellar, that's the way to go. Most of us do not have those around here, I understand. Next best option is a interior room on the first floor without windows. So in most homes, that's going to be a bathroom or a closet. Those are really good options for you. You do not want to be in an exterior room with windows, right? That's one of the spots that could potentially get damaged due to flying debris or something like that. So you want to stay away from that as best you can. Basically, think of it as trying to put as many layers between you and the outside as possible. In most people's homes, I know every home layout is different, but in most people's homes, a bathroom is going to be a really good option because you can get in the bathtub, right? So there's 3 walls there. In addition to whatever rooms are surrounding the bathroom, most bathrooms don't have windows. Some do, but most do not. There's a lot of piping in there that can provide another kind of extra rigid structure that could provide some protection. So it's all about adding as many layers as you can. Also a good idea if you can bring something with you into that bathtub, whether it's a blanket, a helmet, a mattress, something that you can put over top of yourself. That once again is adding another layer of protection to try to brace yourself from any bit of debris that could form as a result of the damage from these storms. I know that may seem like something silly to do. It may seem weird to put on a helmet and go to the bathtub, but if that protects your life due to flying debris, then it ends up being a pretty good idea.
And how much do we know about wind speeds right now in some of these locations?
So as far as like winds gusting or anything like that, I haven't seen any particularly high gust. But with this storm moving so quickly, right, they're moving at about 35 miles per hour. The cell itself has some speed to it. So I would not be surprised if we see some standard wind gusts that are in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range just mixed in with this type of storm. So sure, some gusty winds, even outside of this warned area, definitely a real possibility for us too.
And do we just have the one, wait, there's 2 warnings right now, right?
Just one active warning at the moment. Let's zoom out so I give you the big
That's
picture
right,
here.
3 p.m., both of them, the other one went away at 3 p.m.
Exactly, the other one away at 3 p.m. So the only tornado warning that's active right now is the one that includes a little bit of Suffolk, but mainly up through Isle of Wight and at that northeastern corner of Southampton County. That's the one cell that's prompting this tornado warning right now. Right now, not seeing a very clear sign of rotation. Still a little bit messy there, but the area that I'd watch is just south of Whitley, just east of Zuni, and moving off towards the north and east. So moving up towards Whitley, Zuni, Ivor, those are the communities where this is moving to very quickly, within a matter of just a couple of minutes. If this holds together, if it continues to hold as it's done over the past couple of counties, it would be moving up into portions of Surrey County and that kind of northern part of Sussex County, out towards Wakefield. That's the direction this particular cell is moving.
Now, Miles, like you said, the direction the cell is moving, we see this warning here. We've seen it kind of inch up in a certain pattern. I mean, with the movement of this storm and the direction, how far up do we think this could go?
This cell could continue tracking to the north and west all the way up towards Richmond, really. So, I mean, we'll zoom out here. You can see the way that movement is. If this cell were to hold together, so continue to show signs of rotation, it's going to continue in that northwest track. It could head up towards Petersburg and Richmond, just continue wrapping around that center of circulation, the center of that tropical storm, which is way down near the North Carolina-South Carolina line. So it's going to continue to follow that sort of band and wrap its way around. So we could continue to see this cell, again, go through parts of Surrey, Sussex County, head back towards Petersburg or Richmond, and then continue from there. So there's a chance that this could hold together for quite some time. I mean, we've seen it go from basically Hertford up through Gates County, Suffolk, Isle of Wight, and now headed up towards Southampton County. So we've seen it go across 3 or 4 counties and cities already just in the hour or two we've been here.
And you've been committed, giving us the first warning on this for knocking on 2 hours now, close to 2 hours, to be committed and stay on the air to help give the life-saving information to families who are within these tornado warning areas, Miles.
Yeah, and like I spoke about earlier, I do that because this is the most important part of my job, right? When it comes to being a meteorologist, the number one part of my job is to try to keep people safe. Right? I don't get to do that part of my job every day because sometimes the weather is nice, and that's okay. But on days like today, my job is very important, and I take that importance very seriously because there could be somebody who lives in these communities who I could be saving a life today. And I know to some people that may sound dramatic, that may sound over the top, but we've had experiences in the past where that's happened, right? I think back to the tornado we had in Virginia Beach, I believe last year. We had people who said, hey, I was watching Patrick Rocky. He told me there's a tornado warning. I got inside. I am now safe, right? So we see these stories all the time of these warnings are issued for a reason, right? They're issued because there is sign that there's a tornado in this particular instance. So this is a serious weather event that, I get it, I sound repetitive. If you've been watching this entire time, I understand that can be frustrating. But for some people who's just tuning in, this message, this moment right here could be life-saving for someone. And that's why it's important to me.
You know, and that's the thing about this area. We're so used to seeing tropical storms and hurricanes and so forth pop through. And thankfully, most of the time, everything is okay. But there are times it is not. And it is very important to listen, to pay attention, to get in those safe spaces and zero in on the areas right now that you're looking at, like in Windsor and Wakefield, where folks need to start paying attention about where to go inside their home and you know, protect their family, protect themselves. And a lot of folks could be at work right now, so that might be something that we need to consider for folks at their office.
I would also say if you live in an apartment building, get to know your neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Before the tornado warnings hit, because maybe you live on an upper floor. Oh wait, it sounds like we just got another warning, Miles.
Let's see what we've got here. It's loading right now.
Okay.
There we go. So yep, back towards Suffolk, another cell in that same area I'm watching in that kind of northeast corner of Gates County. This is that same spot we've seen a couple different cells come through that are showing some signs of rotation. They're just seeing a little bit of a grouping there. So let me show you what I'm looking at here. When we look at these velocities, so again, this is showing some movement here, some movement between the cells. We're seeing that basically the radar is scanning through the sky and it's looking for movement as well as precipitation, right? So sometimes we see precipitation, that's the colors we're used to seeing, but you can see the grouping here. We have this dark green, that's the winds that are moving towards the radar site in that way. And then you see this blue, and sometimes it's even red if it's moving in a different direction. Red is away from the site. So this grouping where you see two different colors close together, that's telling me that within this thunderstorm cloud, you have winds that are going in opposite directions, right? With a typical thunderstorm, everything will be moving in the same direction, right? But when you look for this twist or this spin in the cloud, that's what we're looking for with the velocity here. We're seeing that grouping right there near the state line. So we're in that northeast corner of Gates County, right near the Great Dismal Swamp. This is tracking to the north and west through southern parts of Suffolk. So we're down towards Whaleyville again. We're down towards Saunders. We're working up towards downtown Suffolk. We're moving in over towards, eventually up towards Kings Fork. You're kind of at the northern edge of this warning box. So this warning goes until 3:45. Jessica, you mentioned earlier about the people affected. Yeah, we're looking at over 83,000 people within this tornado warning box. So this is another area, big part of Suffolk, where we're watching this cell follow its way through. And we talked about training, or these cells kind of following each other. So that one warning box is up towards Windsor, the other one lined up right behind it. So those are two cells back to back, both kind of following the same northwest path and wrapping around those bands from our tropical system, which is still down across North and South Carolina. So these two systems lined up, one cell I'm watching right here in Isle of Wight, that's headed back towards portions of Southampton County. And then the other kind of lined up right here along the state line, working its way through Suffolk. So those are two different cells, two different tornado warnings, both kind of moving in the same direction.
And this is the second time the state line area has seen one this afternoon.
Yeah, we had a tornado warning just a little bit ago, right in this same area, that same sort of eastern part of Gates County. So this is the second time we've seen a tornado warning for that same kind of northeastern corner of Gates County, right there along the Great Dismal Swamp. So this is the area along 13 in Suffolk, and it's a pretty common road that we see there. So 13 in Suffolk, you see it right there coming out of downtown, headed towards the state line. So the area is kind of south and east of that. That's where we have that tornado warning effect. But the box does include all the way up through downtown Suffolk as well. There's 58. You're included in this tornado warning as well, and even parts of 460. So those are two hugely popular roads to travel in Suffolk, and we're getting close to that afternoon drive time. If you know anybody that usually travels this route, tell them to hold off a little bit, right? Wait for these storms to go by. It's not worth trying to drive through these tornado-warmed storms, as both of them are kind of sliding in that direction. So heads up, basically all of central Suffolk from downtown up 460, up 58, and all the way down to the Great Dismal Swamp and the state line. you're under that tornado warning that goes until 3:45 here. And the other one, let's slide up towards Windsor here in Isle of Wight. This is the second cell I'm watching. This one's also moving back to the north and west. That one goes until 3:30, so kind of back-to-back tornado warnings here. So the area I'm concerned with, kind of right here around 460, kind of where it meets with 258, so just on the north side of Windsor. That's headed back to the north and west. Not a very clear signature when it comes to the rotation right now, which my hope is that's a sign that that rotation is fizzling out. That's what we want to see. We do not want to see a big grouping because that would be this thing is falling apart. And that's what we're hoping for. But that warning is still in effect for next few minutes here. So watch out communities up towards Ivor. So we're right there in kind of that northeast corner of Southampton County. You see 460. Again, very popular way to drive there in that tornado warning box. And a big chunk of Isle of Wight as well. That warning box expires or is chopped off kind of right at the edge of Surrey County for now. We'll see if it gets extended again. We've seen these boxes like we're seeing now kind of line up one after the other. So there's a chance that this tornado warning box that's set to expire at 3:30 could get pushed back into portions of Sussex and Surrey counties as well. So kind of two different warnings we're watching for now, both part of the same system, both part of the same tropical system that's impacting a huge chunk of the mid-Atlantic right now.
Miles, you were giving us the first warning about the inland communities being your biggest concern, and that is what we have seen all this afternoon.
Yeah, since early this week, when we first started talking about this tropical system, my focus has always been, okay, we're all going to feel some sort of impacts, but those impacts are going to be greater as you go inland, as you go south and west. That's where we've seen most of the rain so far. That's obviously where we've seen most of these tornado warnings so far. That's likely where we'll see the strongest winds over the next day or so. So impacts are going to be greater as you go south and west, and we've thought that all along. So I don't want folks who are living along the beach. I know Virginia Beach, you've been pretty quiet today. You're probably going, hey, what's the deal? I've got nothing out here. But your neighbors to the west are dealing with a completely different weather picture. And that's just the nature of these bands of heavy rain and storms that are associated with this tropical system. So when I say band, think stripe or ribbon. And you can see this kind of stripe of heavy rain. There's one there. There's another back here towards Emporia, working down towards Murfreesboro and Jackson, North Carolina. Not quite as intense with that one, but you're seeing those bands, those stripes of heavy rain and storms all kind of spinning around that center of circulation there. So two active tornado warnings right now. One here at 3:30 includes parts of Isle of Wight County, parts of Southampton County. The other one goes until 3:45. That includes a big part of Suffolk. The cell I'm watching is right there along the state line right now, where the state line and the Great Dismal Swamp meet up. And that's headed up towards downtown Suffolk, moving towards the north and northwest. So likely moving on that northwest side of Suffolk. We have the velocity kind of looking through the storm here. You see that kind of cluster right where that arrow is pointing right now. That's kind of the area I'm watching, which is literally on the very edge of the Great Dismal Swamp. So if you live on the Suffolk side and you visit the Great Dismal Swamp, maybe to do some bird watching or canoeing or something like that, where you enter the park is right around this area. So that's the area I'm watching for with that potential rotation, but this is tracking to the north and west. So it's going to be headed its way back up towards Highway 13. It's going to be headed back up towards 58, going to be headed up a little closer to downtown Suffolk as well. So that very popular route to travel there along 58, this is exactly the direction that this cell is headed. So that commute between Suffolk, downtown Suffolk and Franklin, this is exactly where that cell is moving, exactly where we saw another tornado warned cell pass by about 30 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. And we've been watching the traffic cameras too, and there aren't a lot of folks on the roadways on 58 or 460, and this is one of 13, and you can just see that south of Suffolk right there, and it's just incredibly messy. Thankfully, not a lot of folks on the roads, and that's how we like to see the roads when we have systems like this moving through.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd like to see even fewer people on the roads,
yes.
right? Because that means more people are getting the word and saying, hey, look, this is a nasty storm. We do not need to be outside in the middle of it. Obviously, it looks gross. You don't want to try to make that drive even just in the rain, but with it being a tornado-warned storm, it's even more serious, right? Now you're in a different level of serious, nasty commute. So yeah, we're seeing the kind of the little bit of ground truth that, yeah, it's a nasty storm, but what is hidden within those rain clouds is that spin, that twist, that tornado that could be coming down from those thunderstorm clouds. Tough to see, but it's one of those that can still be just as dangerous even if it's all wrapped up in the rain.
And Miles, we've been talking about other things for just a couple of minutes. Would you zero in one more time about where those tornado warnings are for folks who need to get into the interior space?
Yeah, so if you're under this tornado warning, we have 2 active warnings right now. The first of which is for this cell here, which is right along the state line in southern parts of Suffolk, right into the Great Dismal Swamp. That warning box extends off to the north and to the east. So it extends up towards downtown Suffolk. It crosses over Highway 13, crosses over 58, heads up towards 460. So that is a huge chunk of the city of Suffolk, basically from downtown and points off to the west there along 58 and 460. Takes you all the way up to the county line there, Isle of Wight County. That's where that first warning stops. It's set to expire at 3:45. Our second tornado warning, that's back into Isle of Wight County, near Windsor. You see that cell kind of stretching up here towards portions of Southampton County. That one goes until 3:30. So 2 different cells, 2 different potential tornadoes here prompting those tornado warnings, both moving in the same general direction. They're both kind of moving off to the north and northwest, both moving at about 35 miles per hour, so fast moving cells, which means they're going to be quick to exit, but also quick to move in. So that's why giving you these warnings will give you as much heads up as possible. Let me extend that heads up a little bit further. There is no warning right now in portions of Surrey and Sussex County, but you would be next in line. Right? So no active warning right now for folks near Wakefield, Waverly, Carsley, that kind of southern part of Surrey County, but want to put it on your radar that this cell has had a history of extending that tornado warning again and again and again. So want to give you that first warning, that early heads up. No active tornado warning yet for Surrey or Sussex, but I would not be surprised one bit if that warning gets extended one more time as we go through the next, say, 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes, we could see that warning pushed one more time.
Miles, you've been giving us the first warning even before the bells and whistles and the alarms start to go off. So we're incredibly thankful for that. We have some viewers who are communicating with us through social media, asking about Nansman
Parkway. Is anything near Nansman Parkway?
Yeah, this is within that box for sure. Yeah, this is well within that tornado warning box. Obviously, with all the rain mixed in, it's tough to pinpoint the exact sort of street that this cell may be on. But right now, I'm watching that kind of southeast corner of Suffolk, and it's moving northwest. So you're within that kind of Suffolk region. Now, if you're watching this afternoon and you're in kind of North Suffolk, or you're stretching over towards Driver, or you're up towards the Chesapeake line, you're not included in that box. And you can see some more moderate showers there. So as you get closer to 664, you're not included in that warning box. Same story if you're out near Franklin. Franklin, you are not included in that warning box for now, but the area in the middle, that's where we see that tornado warning, right? So it's not all of the city of Suffolk, but it's a really big chunk of the city of Suffolk from downtown down towards the Dismal Swamp and stretching up back towards Isle of Wight. Those are the communities that are listed under that tornado warning until 3:45.
And there are a lot of people in that area too that need to pay attention to what you're saying, and just still watching some of these traffic cameras to see. Thankfully, not a lot of folks on the roadways, but it's better just to stay in, get in your safe space, at least until these warnings have expired. And we will stay on the air until they have expired. And we've been real grateful that we've been getting so much information from Miles Henderson. And pretty soon, forecaster Dara Getter will be joining us, and she's going to chime in as well because Miles has been here for a little while.
Yes, and also meteorologist April Loveland is here too. So the First Warning Storm Team is here to guide us through these tornado warnings that we've been seeing. Again, the team has been giving you the first warning on what to expect from this storm from Debbie for several days now. And so, again, the First Warning Storm Team has been warning us that the biggest impacts they expected were going to be within our inland communities. And that is what we've been seeing. Again, Miles saying a large chunk, not all of Suffolk, but a large chunk of Suffolk is under this tornado warning now that is going until at least 3:45. But Miles, as you've been telling us, this storm has had a history of these warnings being extended, and you've been kind of guiding us, letting people know where you believe those warnings are going to be extended even before we hear those alarms go off.
Exactly. We've seen them line up kind of one after another, right? We call it training. Think like a choo-choo train, right? The train cars line up one after another, so they follow each other. Right now, that area I'm most concerned with in Suffolk is right there near Russell, right? You see that area with the velocity here where you have different colors. That's showing that there's movement going in kind of opposite directions or different directions. That's an indication that there's some sort of twist or spin within that thunderstorm cloud and could be coming down to the ground as a tornado. So right now, that's near Russell. It's moving towards the north and northwest. So it's moving in closer to Kilby, towards Kenyon, towards Myrtle. Everett's and Boaz, you're included within that warning box, but it looks like that cell's likely going to split right in between you. But still, if you're in those communities, still take some warning because it's going to get very close enough where you want to make sure you're in a safe place just in case. The other warning goes until 3:30, so we still have about 7 minutes on that one. Let's see if we can find the center of rotation here. Not quite as clear with that one. So we'll keep an eye out for that one to see if it kind of reorganizes or it gets better organized, because that could be pushed into portions of Surry and Sussex County. As of right now, we're okay there, but want to keep a close eye on that one because we could see how these two warnings are lined up. We could see them line up again back towards the Wakefield and Surry area. So would not be surprised one bit if we see those kind of link up once again. Here's the big picture, and I want to show you kind of the whole area because I know a lot of times when we do this extended severe weather coverage, people get frustrated. They're saying, hey, why aren't you showing my town? If we're not showing your town, that's probably because things are pretty quiet, right? And so if you look at the big picture here, you see a lot of our coastal communities not seeing much of anything. And so you're lucking out when it comes to this. Again, I know it's easy to complain, hey, you're not talking about me. That's a good thing. That means you're not dealing with this severe weather. Still seeing some strong storms near Elizabeth City. Still seeing some heavy rain near Ahoskie out towards Murfreesboro. West of Franklin near Emporia. Still seeing some heavy rain, but not severe at this point in time. The worst line is the one we're tracking with these two tornado warnings in parts of Suffolk and parts of Isle of Wight, and that line extending back towards Surry and Sussex, though not warned yet. It's all kind of part of the same line here. Steady rain across the peninsulas. Heaviest rain on the peninsula is kind of out towards James City County, just west of Williamsburg. Not a severe storm, no tornado warning there, but of concern. Now, for almost the entire area, most of Hampton Roads, northeastern North Carolina, we have a tornado watch that goes until 8 o'clock. Right? A watch is a heads up. Think about a watch as a yellow light, right? You have your traffic light. Green means you're good to go. Yellow means caution, right? Something may be changing. So a watch means watch out. We have the potential for tornadoes to develop. A warning is like a red light, right? Stop what you're doing. That means something is happening right now. That's why we have these warnings issued, because on radar, we have seen that spin. Something is happening right now. So that's the time to take action when you have these warnings issued. A watch means, hey, I need to be dialed in, make sure my phone is charged, make sure I have the News 3 app, make sure I'm tuning in to News 3 for all the updates so I can see how these storms may be developing. That's a watch. A warning means it's time to go. You got to go to your safe place. You have something happening over your area right now when these warning boxes are issued. So that's what we're seeing right now in Surry and back towards Isle of Wight. Those are two warnings, meaning something's happening right now. The cell that I'm most concerned with is this one right here in Suffolk. Again, it's just kind of south of downtown Suffolk right now. It is moving to the north and west, so moving along that 58 corridor. Eventually, we'll be moving up towards the 460 corridor. I know that's a very popular travel route, especially this time of day. So if your travels are taking you Suffolk and just west of Suffolk along 58 or 460, don't try to make that drive now. Wait until these storms pass by. But those are the communities under this tornado warning. Those are the spots that I'm most concerned with that potential for a tornado in that section of Suffolk. Again, if you're up towards North Suffolk, up near Driver, you're not in the warning for now. If you're down here closer to Franklin, things are much more quiet for you as well. It's that middle section of Suffolk stretching to Isle of Wight where these warnings are issued for now.
I believe we have a camera too south of Suffolk. This one though on 13, and last time I checked, it looks like conditions were getting a little more severe, a little darker in the area.
Yeah, we can see the rain there that's on the camera. We see a few cars on the roads. That always makes me concerned when people are driving as a tornado warning is going on. Listen, if you don't think your friends or family are aware, please share this life-saving, critical information with them. We see the clouds are dark. And again, Miles, as you explained, you're seeing those, you're seeing what appears to be rotation on the radar, but that doesn't mean someone can be outside, look up, and see what you're seeing with the first warning technology.
Yeah, so when it comes to a tornado warning, we look for one of two things. We look for what we call radar indicated, which means we've seen some rotation or some spin via radar, right? We can see with radar that cloud is spinning. There's some movement there. The other reason for a tornado warning is if someone has seen it. A trained weather spotter, someone in law enforcement who's trained to spot these things, they have said, yes, I see a funnel cloud, I see a tornado. That would also prompt a tornado warning. All of these so far today have been radar indicated, which means that radar has seen that spin. Now, it's been traveling through fairly rural communities here, so there may not be a ton of eyeballs with the potential to see it. And there's a lot of rain mixed in here. So that rain can help shield, can help block any potential viewing you may have of a tornado or a funnel cloud or spin in the cloud. So when you have such heavy rain like we do here in some of these tropical bands, it's tough to see that sort of spin, right? Because you have all the rain kind of blanketing and hiding your view of what's going on. So yeah, this is going to be one of those where you probably won't be able to see it. You should not be outside looking, but even if you were, you would not be able to see it because you're so kind of blanketed with all the rain that's moving in out there.
And as of about 10 minutes ago, in speaking to City of Suffolk, it appears no damage so far. So we are hoping that holds through the afternoon.
So far, but yeah, still have this cell that's moving in right now. This is kind of just on the south side of downtown Suffolk. That's the area of most concern right now. So still a ways to go for Suffolk. You still have that warning for let's see, the next about 15 minutes or so. So still some concern for the city of Suffolk, right there near and just south of downtown. I'm not seeing a very tight grouping, right? Really, when we look at velocity, we want to see these colors, different colors really close together. We kind of have a little bit of that here along the Great Dismal Swamp, just on the south side of downtown Suffolk. That's the area that's potentially showing that spin, that velocity twist, if you will. So that's the area I'm watching, and let's see, that's going to be right there near Russell. Yeah, that's the best community right there on the kind of southeast side of Highway 13. Moving off towards downtown Suffolk, moving off towards Kilby. There's Elephant's Fork that popped up there. King's Fork is up a little higher there as you get onto 460. So those are some of the spots that are under the gun with this tornado warning, and you should be headed to your safe spot if you're not there already in this portion of Suffolk.
I know we don't have any reports of damage yet in Suffolk, but again, these warnings are still going on. We have had seen some trees down in Gates County. We know we had saw some activity there earlier, Miles, as you've been on the air for a couple hours now, and we've seen these warnings kind of go along that path to where we are now. So we do know that this system, these warnings, are capable of producing damage.
Yeah, and we saw those storms. The first warning popped up kind of coming out of Hertford in northeastern North Carolina, and then up through Gates, up through Suffolk, back towards Isle of Wight. So we've seen them kind of all link up there. So would not be surprised if we have some damage reports that come in along any of those cities and counties, because even if a tornado wasn't in your neighborhood, you probably could have had some strong winds. You definitely could have had some heavy rain. So there still could be some damage mixed in with some of these communities where these cells have been moving through. By the way, that first warning that was out there towards Isle of Wight has expired. That was 3:30 when that dropped off. So we have the one active tornado warning at the moment, and that is for Suffolk, right? They're centered in the center of the city of Suffolk. That does include downtown, also includes a big chunk of 58 and 460. There's Kenyon on the map. There's a few others there's Everett's popping up. There's